thank you, Mr. Paleckis. Madam Schaake is next, and the Liberals and Democrats.
Thank you, President, Commissioner, colleagues. No one will disagree that terrorism needs to be prevented and that suspects need to be tried and held accountable, brought to justice in a fair trial. But in the so-called war on terror, we risk compromising precisely those freedoms and values that we claim to defend against destruction through terrorism. If we allow the erosion of fundamental rights and principles, we will have allowed the terrorists to win. If we act unjustly, we are less credible and even weak. The declaration of the end of the war on terror was one of the first landmarks by President Obama. However, the failure to close Guantánamo Bay is disappointing, and we must also look at ourselves in Europe. We are unwilling to take remaining inmates, and we must get clarity on the participation in renditions and extrajudicial acts, including torture, on European soil. Yes, we must hold ourselves to the highest standards and open these dark pages of recent EU history. That means we must openly be able to talk about countries involved. Even in this Parliament, that appears to be difficult still. The EU and the US need to work together, not in violating human rights, but rather to address the most pressing threats in our world. We generally share core values, but the difference in our position on the death penalty, which I am proud to say is entirely banned in Europe, makes our joint voice less effective and less credible in the world. Let us lead by example in the free world, and let us be known for our respect for human rights, indiscriminately of whether we are dealing with friends or enemies. Thank you.
I thank you, Madam Schaake. Our next speaker is Madam Hautala.
Thank you, President. I would like to thank all those colleagues who have reminded that thinking of human rights can only be based on an indiscriminate treatment of all violations of human rights, wherever they happen.